Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. Last night, the Rolling Stones played their third show of the Hackney Diamonds tour in Glendale, Arizona, and they did something that has really upset me, and I need to talk about it. They dropped Out of Time, a song that was number one on my most wanted songs to be played live forever. They finally played it live on the European tour, brought it over to America, and now they dropped it because apparently Mick Jagger didn't like the response he was getting for the sing-along. And that has now caused me to do this rant video. Now, it's more than just about Out of Time. It is about time I get out in public my thoughts of the Rolling Stones set list for the last 20 years. And I got home a couple of hours ago, and I am going to go through set lists for the last tours, going back to a bigger bang. And we're going to show you what the Stones have been doing for the last 20 years live. Now, hear me out. The Rolling Stones are by far my favorite band of all time. In fact, nobody else comes close. As of today, I own 434 Rolling Stones albums. That's right. That's physical copies, vinyl, and CDs. And that doesn't include all the solo records, which I have everything. They are in my DNA. I saw them for the first time in 1975 when I was 12 years old, and my sister took me to see them at Madison Square Garden, and I knew every song back then when I was 12 years old. It's a blessing that they're still out there. No doubt that the Stones are out there playing live at this age with everything they've been through. It's pretty incredible. As the longest running major rock band, it's a miracle that they can still do it. Mick Jagger, 81 years old, out there. I'm exhausted watching him for 20 minutes. I don't know how the hell he does it. They have my utmost respect in that they actually sing and play live. Unlike virtually every other major artist, or not major artist, they're all doing it out there. They're fraudulently ripping off their fans by singing and playing the tracks. Tracks, covering their limitations without admitting it until they get busted. And even then, they don't admit it. I'll take the raw, unpolished, mistake-ridden Rolling Stones live over any artist, almost everybody else out there, who's faking it. Those bands should be ashamed. They should get busted, even though it seems like it's an accepted practice, but that's a whole different ball of wax. So I'm not here to simply shit on the Rolling Stones, my all-time favorite band. But as diehard fans, where the Rolling Stones are in our DNA, and they're in mine, we have a right and an obligation to discuss and question things like set lists over the last 20 years. And I'm going to show them to you. For the last 19 years, give or take, the Stones have basically been playing the same set lists over and over again with some tweaking and variations. But it's basically variations on a theme. For a band with the greatest backlog, the greatest discography ever, it's clear that they don't have the confidence in the majority of their songs or in them. They're deep-rooted fans. They don't have the confidence to play these deeper tracks. It's sad. Personally, I've been tired of it. It's as predictable as when Keith goes up on stage every night and says, "Hey, it's good to be here. It's good to be anywhere." And we all got to laugh as if we never heard him say that one before, right? And it's the same thing with the Stones set list. They are guilty of causing and catering a self-fulfilling prophecy. Listen, we live in a lousy time for classic rock, right? A radio only plays a handful of Rolling Stones songs, so the majority of people out there only know a handful of those songs. The Stones charge exorbitant pricing to see them even in the largest stadiums, which largely attract casual fans who only know those 4 or 5 songs that they hear on the radio or on Spotify, right? That's all they really know. They want to spend the money to go to the stadium to drink and party and hang out with their friends and jump up and down to Satisfaction and Jumpin' Jack Flash and tell everybody they saw the Stones do Satisfaction and it was awesome. And the Stones, because they charge so much money and they know that those casual fans only know those war horses, they will play those songs for those casual fans, because God knows what they're paying. You can't let them leave disappointed. And this has been going on for like 20 years. It's created a circle, a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the Stones are at the end of their career. They just released Hackney Diamonds, a great, great album. This was an opportunity to break out of it. And as soon as they announced the Hackney Diamonds tour and said they were playing stadiums, I was like, well, there that goes. They're going to play maybe 3 songs from the new album, play the same damn set list, and voila, that's exactly what they're doing, pretty much. So, to satisfy the big fans like me, what do the Stones do? Well, in the beginning of their set, they'll mix up 2 to 3 deeper tracks that really aren't all that deep, but they're songs that they don't play regularly. They'll do a fan vote, right, to generate some public relations excitement, where they'll put up 4 songs that are deeper, but not really deep, but deeper that I want to see them play. They'll choose one of them, and then the other 3 get dropped. The reality is, for somebody like me, I wish they did a lottery vote on the War Horses. We're only going to play one of these War Horses. Which is the one you want to see? And let me see them play the deeper track. So every time they do the voting, I'm like, I wish they would play all of those. But they don't. It's not going to happen. Let's look at the set list. So here's Houston. It starts off with Start Me Up. Get Off My Cloud. I'm like, well, that's a cool one. Get Off My Cloud's becoming like a deeper track because they don't play it that often. Even though it was a #1 hit that follow up to Satisfaction. But gee, that's like a deeper track, right? But they don't play it that often. So I was thrilled to see they were going to play that. They played Rocks Off. Well, there's a great deep cut. That quickly got dropped because they haven't played Rocks Off since. This is the 3 shows. You can see it. But we'll start with Houston. They do Out of Time, which I was thrilled. They carried that over from the European leg last year, and that was a great sing-along, and it was a highlight of the show for a lot of people. But because the American audiences aren't singing loud enough for it, the Stones have now dropped it, apparently. They do Angry, Beast of Burden was the fan vote, and they did Mess It Up, and Sweet Sounds of Heaven, and Angry. 3 songs from the new album. Pretty much what I predicted. I actually thought maybe they would play 4 because I figured Keith would always do 2 tracks, but he's only doing Little T&A. But I'm actually thrilled that he's doing Little T&A because that's a little bit of a deeper track for him, and it's a great one. So then they do the New Orleans Jazz Fest, and they drop Rocks Off. Same 18 songs, a little bit less than 2 hours they're playing. But they bring in some cool stuff for the event. They bring in Let It Bleed, great version, because they got Dwayne Dobsey playing accordion. That was really cool. And they bring out Irma Thomas to do Time Is On My Side. That was a highlight, but that's a one-off because it was New Orleans, and she's from there. And they do Whole Wide World instead of Mess It Up. After that, well, you got the same War Horses, except they're putting Sweet Sounds of Heaven as an encore, which some people don't think is appropriate, but that's okay. At least they're doing it, and it's great. Last night, they do Arizona, and what do? They drop Get Off of My Cloud, and they bring back It's Only Rock and Roll. Like, we haven't heard It's Only Rock and Roll enough. It's been pretty much played on almost every tour since '75. Yeah, but people know it, I guess. They like to sing It's Only Rock and Roll, gets the crowd going. I would much rather see Hey You, Get Off of My Cloud. But no, they bring back It's Only Rock and Roll, and they dump Out of Time for She's So Cold. Now, She's So Cold, relatively deep track. It's a fun track. It's from Emotional Rescue, an album that I really like. I've done videos on it. But it's not exactly the greatest song in the world. Is that a better song to play than Out of Time? It's not even in the same league for me. And they bring back Beast of Burden. Instead of the song vote, they actually bring that back. Well, that's great. And Monkey Man becomes the vote, which is really cool, but not a great version of it, but I give them credit for trying. It's a great track. Of course, they brought that out on the Voodoo Lounge tour, and this version doesn't compare to that, but they're a lot older, so I get that. They dump Whole Wide World. They bring back Mess It Up. I get that. Mess It Up was going to be a single from the Hackney Diamonds album. It's not one of my favorite tracks from the album, that's for sure, but so be it. There's their current track list. Same scenario that they've been doing. You don't believe me? So this is track lists, set lists from their tours going back. So here is the Bridges to Babylon tour, 1997-1988. I saw that show. Great show. They had a fine record at the time, Bridges to Babylon. And, this is kind of where it was starting. They mix up the opening tracks, but then you get that, war horses at the end. This is a rough idea of what they were playing on at that tour. They were playing some new songs from Bridges to Babylon. Let's skip ahead to 2005, 2007, where Bigger Bang, another new album. I saw that at the Garden. It's always great. Again, the same kind of scenario. They'll change up the opening tracks a bit, and then you get the war horses at the end. And A Bigger Bang was the first one where they released a new album where they really weren't playing too much from A Bigger Bang. And they were really digging for those war horses and really not pushing the new albums. Like if you remember Voodoo Lounge, Steel Wheels, Tattoo You, Some Girls especially. Those tours, they were really pushing the new albums. Let's go to 2012-13, 50 and Counting. Well, that one they were playing Get Off My Cloud, which is great. Same kind of scenarios, what I want to show you. They're always ending up, the second half of the show is pretty much just the same old war horses. Yeah, they might change the order a bit, but you're pretty much seeing the same stuff. Zip Code Tour 2015. Same kind of scenario. No new albums, but, they'll play Doom and Gloom as the new track. And they brought out Can't You Hear Me Knocking and Some Girls. But largely, it's just the same old war horses, but they mix up the order. 2017, 2019, you got the No Filter Tour. Well, different set lists, different years, it's roughly the same, but they'll mix in some new stuff. There's where they played the blues, Blue and Lonesome. They played a track or two from that. But again, you're pretty much seeing those same old war horses over and over again. We're talking 19 years of this, folks. There's the 60 tour from last year, overseas, and that one got me a little excited because you got Out of Time for the first time ever, and you got Living in a Ghost Town, which I think is an incredibly great Rolling Stones song. But they're not playing it on this tour, are they? Other than that, you got more war horses. Listen, I understand it's a stadium show. I understand you got to cater to the casual fans who are the majority of the people out there. I understand the need to play your most famous songs. I'm not naive, but it's 19 years of this already. 19 years of the same set list over and over again. And you got a great new album, Hackney Diamonds. You've created a monster. Now, you are going to have people out there who are cursing me and say, I'm not a Rolling Stones fan. Now, I'm one of the biggest in the world of the Rolling Stones. They're selling themselves short. You're going to tell me they're in uncharted territory. To a certain extent, they are. It's true, but it's not totally true. Jagger and Keith are like 80, going to be 81 years old. Bob Dylan is 83. Bob Dylan's not playing stadiums anymore. I don't think the Rolling Stones should be playing stadiums anymore. Bob Dylan doesn't compare to the Stones live. The last couple times I saw Dylan was one of the worst concerts I ever saw. I've seen him a bunch of times. But Dylan doesn't give a shit about his audience. Too much he doesn't give a shit about his audience. He does what he wants to do. You know why? Because he's an artist. It doesn't always work, but he does what he wants to do. Neil Young is 80 years old. He's an artist. He does what he wants to do. He plays whole concerts where he only plays deep stuff. He releases, 3 albums a year. Doesn't care if anybody buys them. He's an artist. He's going to do what he wants to do. And by and large, when you see Neil Young live, he's still pretty great. And you don't leave saying, I wish he would have played Heart of Gold. Roger Daltrey, Pete Townsend, what are you, around 80? The Who were like the Stones are now back in the day. They bored the hell out of me. They were playing pretty much the same set list over and over again. Funny thing happened after John Entwistle died. They became The Who in name only, but they really got a little bit more interesting. The Who, if you want to call them The Who, call them Daltrey Townsend, I don't care. They play with an orchestra. They play quadrophenia. They play Tommy. They play deep cuts. They're doing what they want to do. They can't play stadiums anymore. That's fine. See them in arenas. Let's see the Stones in arenas for reasonable pricing and play deep albums, deep cuts. Be more artistic. Robert Plant's been offered $300 million to reform Led Zeppelin, and he won't do it because he's an artist. He does what he wants to do. He's around 76 years old. Bruce Springsteen, nobody can do what Bruce Springsteen can do. He's 75. He's playing 3.5-hour shows, and when the E Street Band goes out on tour, at the end of a tour, the number of songs they've played are in the hundreds. I'm not saying the Stones have to compete with that. They can't. But they can do a lot more than what they've been doing. The Stones need to move to the more artistic side. And it's just disheartening. Here's my message to you, Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and the rest of the Stones. You're out of touch, my baby, my poor discarded baby. I said, baby, 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 you're out of time. Damn. I'll still see them at MetLife Stadium. Play Out of Time. Make me and your true diehard fans happy. Get away from your same set list before it's too late.